Hi, my name is Mick Napier from the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign. We are the target today of an attack piece in the Scottish Sunday Times, part of the Murdoch stable, which includes the famous defender of the truth, the Sun, loathed across the whole of Merseyside and well beyond for the filth that they poured into the body politic over Hillsborough, but many other examples as well. A racist rag. So we really don't care too much what they say about us, but it gives us the opportunity to make a few points very clear. The Sunday Times has shown no interest in the work that we do in support of Palestinian freedom and human rights, which they now say we are not really interested in. Large demonstrations, public demonstrations during massacres, visits, Scottish tours by Israeli speaker after Israeli speaker against Israeli apartheid and criminality, and ignoring completely what's going on over at Glasgow Friends of Israel, where they talk openly about euthanizing Palestinians and just completely accept the most naked Islamophobia without challenge. So journalism is not a word we would normally apply to people of that ilk, but it's quite interesting that on all SPSC's website, official Facebooks, every spoken word, every written word, everything we say at open meetings, not a single word of that is allowed to weigh in the scales when the Sunday Times wants to mount an attack piece, because everything that we've ever written, without a single exception, shows a campaign committed to human rights for all and a solution to the dark crisis caused by Zionism in Israel-Palestine based on universal human rights. We are four square for Palestinian human rights. We don't compromise. Part of that struggle, we think, against the racism of the Israeli state, the state-enforced racism, is that we oppose all forms of racism. Our critique of Zionism is precisely that it is lethal for the people of Palestine, but also that it wishes Jews to leave Europe, it wishes Jews to leave Scotland, and we wish the opposite. We wish the Jewish communities in Europe and Scotland to stay here, to flourish, and not to think that they should decamp and go to Palestine, where they will become part of the settler colonial problem. So what are our positions? There's a difficulty that lulls naive people into anti-Semitism, and this is it. We believe completely, and we think any intelligent person, honest person would believe, Israel is a Jewish supremacist state. Jewish-only roads, double legal codes, one for Jews, one for non-Jews, where the second is much harsher than the other. The law of return for people who've never been to Israel, Palestine, because they're Jewish, they can go there, whereas the refugees created by the founding of the State of Israel and the bulldozers that smashed their homes yesterday are treated very much as the other people who have to be dealt with. And we argue as a campaign that Israel is a settler colonial project, similar to the British in Tasmania or in the northeastern USA, the Spaniards in Argentina, Australia, where the massive violence visited upon the native people was part of that settler colonial project. So we derive our understanding of what's happening in Israel-Palestine from the nature of settler colonialism, and we oppose the naive and foolish ideas that this is something to do with the Old Testament, something inherently Jewish. I was old enough to oppose apartheid in South Africa, and nobody, however crazy, dreamt that we were against white people. We were against an apartheid system, and we wanted to end it. The Sunday Times is reporting a so-called report by a creature called Collier, who's once again just doing an attack job, who sets out to prove that there's no such thing in Britain as genuine campaigning on behalf of the people of Palestine and their human rights. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. And he says very clearly that it's a pretense on the part of Palestine Solidarity activists. It's a cause that we attempt to hide behind. And they say, he actually says in a parallel report on PSC in England and Wales, quote unquote, the more active someone is in the fight against Israel, the more likely it is that anti-Semitism is present. Well, you know, Scottish PSC is pretty active. Our national committee, which doesn't figure in his report, is absolutely free from any taint of anti-Semitism, except insofar as the Zionists believe that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, that answering the Palestinian call for boycott, divestment and sanctions against a murderous and violent state, that itself is anti-Semitism. We reject that, we repudiate that, we're very comfortable in that repudiation, and we'll continue to be so. The position is very clear when they say that our banner, a large banner that we carry that says anti-Semitism is a crime, anti-Zionism is a duty, they doctor that in a childish way on their Facebook to say anti-Zionism is hate crime. No, it isn't. It's opposition to a political project of colonisation and ethnic cleansing and state-enforced racism. That's who we are. We'll continue to stand by that position. I'm accused in the report by Collier of using jokes about anti-Semitism. Well, I do actually, but that doesn't mean that we don't understand that anti-Semitism, genuine anti-Semitism, hatred of Jews and hostility to Jews as Jews is a disgusting and hateful thing, and something that we would stand foursquare against. But you know, it gets a bit ridiculous when people have a meeting and a clown called Jonathan Hoffman interrupts it and keeps on uttering inanities. Someone shouts across the room, "Do you really believe that?" And "Do you really believe that?" becomes, on the BBC website for 24 hours, an anti-Semitic hate crime. Yes, it's time to laugh. It's time to laugh. It's ridiculous, the depths to which accusations of anti-Semitism have gone. But real anti-Semitism, hatred of Jews, is a disgusting and immoral form of racism, and we oppose it foursquare. But that's what Scottish PSC has always done. The fact that some naive people fall for the Zionist trick of conflating anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, we have always stood foursquare against. People who have anti-Semitic ideas don't last very long in SPSC. Their anti-Semitic ideas are challenged because the Palestinian leadership of the Boycott campaign challenges it as well, and we echo and support that challenge. We are anti-racist to the core. I could go into the methodology of Collier's report, but it's so truly pathetic. I'm accused of being with people whom I've never met, because apparently Mr. Collier thinks that on Facebook, when somebody posts "I was with 29 people," that means they were physically in the same room. Sorry, you don't seem to understand Facebook, which is the source for your so-called materials. Okay, let me finish by saying that we are a campaign for human rights for all. We oppose a Jewish supremacist state in Israel. The notion of Jewish supremacism worldwide is the preserve of Nazi and neo-Nazi ideologues. We totally oppose it, because not to do so would be a violation of the Jews who support us, of Marion Wolfson, our past president who died some years ago, and whom an Israeli newspaper once called the most dangerous anti-Zionist in Britain. Jewish and anti-Zionist, not only welcome but cherished. And we have the same attitude towards all those Jews worldwide who stand up for human rights. You don't have to support apartheid to be Jewish, and there are many, many, many examples of that. We welcome such. We welcome anyone who stands up for human rights, whereas the Zionists seek to smear all of us, and perhaps especially those Jews who decide to challenge their leadership of the Jewish community. Okay, what can I say? We will continue to fight for BDS. We'll continue to fight for Palestine Solidarity. We will stand up to all attempts to smear Palestine Solidarity campaigners as racist. They will not win any more than they did over Hillsborough, where they smeared football supporters in the most disgusting way. So we are used to the sewage that flows over us, but it flows over us from the likes of the Murdoch Press, the likes of Zionist Friends of Israel groups, and we are immune to that. So please join the campaign, join the struggle, join us, help us, and we will win.